will make a difference in Tanya's life today to get her successful. So there is so many topics, and I think myself and Michael is most probably after today we will have a discussion, and we most probably will sit down and say, how can we in the next 12 months roll out a program to make sure that our people are well equipped for what they need to do. Because I looked at your feedback, the feedback that you gave from Yaku's session, and I looked at the highlights that you put in here. You said, what is a real estate marketing plan? Can we talk about customer relationship management? How do I manage my relationship with my client? The marketing plan. People want to know from you, how are you going to sell my property? Why would I use you? Client engagement. How do I make it easier for myself to engage with the client? I maybe only have this much time. Then, so I, in a way, just highlighted the things that I'm going to touch on today. Then you specifically said, speak to us about a listing presentation. So I'm also going to leave you with homework today, because that's the only way that we will learn through the process. It's all good and well to have a fantastic session and engage with each other and hear a lot of things, and you don't go and apply. So I'm going to hold you accountable for what we do this morning, because that is how we learn through the process. And then, how do we talk about commission? You specifically mentioned that. So on your list as well was still the social media, the marketing through your social media. How do I grow my data list of people that I engage with? Lots of things. I mean, we can spend the rest of the morning just putting the list together. But I have put something together for you that hopefully could guide you through a few things that you've got on the list. And I hope that I can leave you today with a very good marketing plan in terms of how do we think about marketing, how do I approach my client, how do I engage with my client, a listing presentation, a guideline to a listing presentation, how do I do my competitive market analysis. So commission comes in if I can speak to somebody about price. How do I talk to people about price? So a CMA that I'm going to discuss with you, and I'm going to send it in an email to you as well, that you've got it in a soft copy, that you can put it on your letterhead, and that you can present it to somebody. And hopefully that will be something crucial that you will understand. If you ask me over 20 years, what are the two most important things for an agent to know? And you can make a note. What are the two key things that an agent should equip themselves with? Then the one is, you must understand and know how to present a sole mandate. Why a sole mandate? The most successful people in the industry, so it's not me saying that, the most successful agents that earns the most money do not work on open mandates. We don't do listings. We sign up a sole agreement with the client. So that's the one thing. You, as a property practitioner, needs to know and understand, how do I sign up a sole mandate? The other one that you have to know and understand, and we will still spend time with you with regards to that, luckily you've got Michael to assist you, is to facilitate your sale agreement. How do I facilitate my sale agreement? On your list, on your wish list was also, talk to us about the parties involved in transfers. How does that process work? That's something for another day. We might touch on it just later this morning. If you want to, I can always give you a short explanation. But I think there's more important things this morning that I would like to talk to you about. So I'm going to present to you and discuss with you the steps that you take to get to that sole mandate. The challenge that we have, and you must also engage with me and ask me and tell me what are the conversations that you have with people. The challenge in our industry is that our agents and our property practitioners do not, and what I heard from you this morning and what I hear from Michael is that you want to equip yourself better. Unfortunately, out there, it might look like every second person can become an agent. It doesn't work like that anymore. Firstly, you're not going to make it. You need 6 to 9 months to be able to sustain yourself financially. You have to work extremely hard. You have to study, and you need to take this job seriously. If you don't do that, you're wasting your time and the company's time and money. And actually your own money at this point of time, and whatever the effort is from the company's side. And I've just told you what effort your principal puts in. So I want you today to hear me out in terms of what you're going to do every single time when you visit a property. Every single time that you speak to a potential seller, you are going to immediately engage in the way we're going to decide today how Rainbow Properties are going to present themselves. It might work the first time, it might not work the first time, then you try again, and you most probably will in 3 months' time from now say to me, Freda, it took me about 12 appointments and then somebody signed up a sole mandate for me. The most, and remember that, the most successful agents in this industry work on a sole mandate. And the only reason why people do not get a sole mandate is because they don't know how to present it. They don't know what to tell the client when you engage with that client. So that's what I want you to work with me today, to say, I am going to learn from Freda today, how does a sole mandate work? Why is she saying that the most important thing that you have to know and understand is a sole mandate? So I'm going to talk to you today about this very, very key important thing that I believe is important for you. So if you look at your handouts that I've given you, on the very, very first page, we say on the first page, the agent must believe that it is in the seller's best interest to give a sole mandate. Yes, that's, oh, sorry. I've got more. So the very first thing that I want you to just read with me. So what are we saying? We are saying that the agent needs to believe that it is in the seller's best interest to give a sole mandate. So it starts with you. You need to believe it's the best thing for your seller. A sole mandate. Let's quickly talk about what does a sole mandate mean? Anybody? What is a sole mandate? Who knows? Mary will know. Come, Mary. What's a sole mandate?
The sole mandate is a document that binds the seller and we, the agent, to give us the right to manage the property to sell the property within 3 months.
It doesn't have to be 3 months, but a certain period of time. Well done. So a sole mandate gives you the sole right to sell that property. That's a sole mandate. Okay? So write it down. A sole mandate means you've got the sole right to market that property. That means that no other agent are allowed to sell that property unless they've engaged with you. Because we're going to talk about that today. we're going to say, well, what if the seller says to me, I need more than one agent? How do we have that discussion with the seller? So a sole mandate means, like Mary said, they give us the sole right to sell the property in a certain period of time. Okay, so firstly, for me to ask the seller to sell his property on a sole mandate, I need to believe it's the best thing for him to do. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying to you, you need to start with the mentality that I will be able to sell this property. I'm going to come back to that just now. Why is it so important? Maybe just a step back. Why is it so important for you to have the sole right to sell that property? Because the potential buyer only looks at the property. He doesn't care who the agent is. Do you agree with me? If you are working on a listing and there's 17 agents working on that listing, isn't that the most frustrating thing that you can think of? You can't work like that, because the buyer is going to say, but I can get it cheaper from the other guy. The buyer is going to say, but can we cut the commission because I've only got X amount? The buyer is going to dictate. And what is the buyer going to do? You are going to do all the homework for him, and he's going to buy the property from another agent. Okay? So let's just start. The buyer should never dictate. The seller must dictate. The seller must tell you and give you the commitment. Listen to me today. If you do not have your seller's commitment to your marketing plan and the way you are going to sell his property, you are wasting your time. So firstly, you need the seller's commitment. And secondly, you must speak to the decision maker. All of us around the table today said, I like to engage with people. I like to speak to people. I like to meet people. Michael said, it is interesting that in this industry, we can focus this. He was 100% right saying there's three categories or three spheres of people that we work with. We most probably will work in the lower end of the market, and that lower end could be different price ranges. Then we work in the more middle price range, and then there is the higher end properties. Then I don't think you should ever limit yourself to a specific category of properties. The fact that you are currently working in Sunnyside and selling in Sunnyside does not mean that Rainbow Properties cannot have an agent in Pretoria North and sell the higher end properties. So what I'm talking to you about today, all of you around here said, I want to improve myself. I want to be the best that I can be. And you must not. I want you to today commit to yourself that you will always be the best that you can be. The best you can be, because that's the only way you're going to motivate yourself to do this. So we're saying in our notes, you as the agent must believe that the sole mandate is the best for the seller. I'm going to give you those reasons. I'm going to talk you through those reasons. So firstly, you must have a sole mandate presentation. So let me quickly first ask, if you today find a property for sale, what do? Okay, so you find out that there is a flat in town, in one of the buildings, available for sale. Either one of the tenants told you, or it might be your neighbor, or your neighbor's friend said to you, I believe you're an agent, you had coffee together, and they said, number 123 in our building is for sale. What do? What is your next step? What is normally your next step? Michael?
Okay, the next step is to check on the owner based on the system we have.
Okay.
That's number one thing. And then after you are getting that, you discover the owner, then you go further to call the owner and introduce yourself. Tell them that I'm capable of doing this.
Here we go. So that is exactly what and that's why the discussion we're having this morning is so important. So we find out the properties for sale. You don't waste your time or your money to discuss the potential sale of the property with anybody else than the owner. Now, normally what happens is we've got a challenge because the owner might not be immediately available, the owner might not be in town, the owner might live somewhere else. And you're saying, yes, Freda, that is one of the challenges. That's why it is so important that you have to prepare yourself for this discussion with the owner. Because guess what? If we now make an effort to find out who is the owner, and you phone the owner and you say, good morning, I am Mary from Rainbow Properties. And he says, hello, who am I? Mary from Rainbow Properties. And the guy says, properties like what? Like selling properties. Yes, sir, selling properties. He says, I don't want to speak to an agent. And he puts the phone down. Or the first question you say, sir, I believe your property is for sale. Can I maybe market the property? And he says yes. So what then? Or maybe he just says no. So what I want to teach you this morning is you should be so prepared at any point of time to have the discussion and what am I going to do in the follow-up to commit this person to my process. Because what you cannot afford to do is to say, the owner says to you, yes, you can market my property. And you say, okay, sir, okay, thank you very much. And you say goodbye. And what then? Do I take a professional photographer to the flat and I take photos and I spend the time and the money advertising it? No, definitely not. We are obliged to identify the person, who he is, because we must do it according to legislation. We must find out who the person is. We must do the documentation, must be in place. He must sign an agreement with us, even if it's just an open mandate. And I'm talking to you about sole mandates this morning. And then a commitment to a marketing plan. What are we going to do? How are we going to sell your property, sir? So what we need to do this morning is to also establish what is it that I'm going to say to that person in the first conversation. How am I going to make him want to speak to me again? What am I going to do to make him want to deal with Rainbow Properties and not the other 55 agencies working in Sunnyside? How many agents are there in Sunnyside? Michael? A lot. No, let's rather put it this way. There are a lot of people thinking they are agents. And that's part of what we need to discuss today. How do I differentiate myself and my company from the rest of the people out there? And with a commitment like yours and a qualified principal agent sitting in the office with you, it's very easy. And I'll talk to you about that just now. Great. So we need to understand what a sole mandate is. So a sole mandate is the exclusive right to sell that property. And think a little bit about it. Think a little bit. If somebody wants to sell something to you, what is the most important thing? Absolutely. Absolutely. The value proposition for the other person. So you have to exactly the second little sentence that I put on your presentation. Only focus on the benefit to the seller. Why must the seller deal with you and Rainbow Properties? Why would it be to his benefit to only deal with you? Okay, we will get there just now. But you're 100% right. If somebody wants to sell something to me, then I want to know what is the benefit from me. What am I going to get from this? And that is not just commission. We will talk about that just now. Then the third sentence says, practice and know your sole mandate presentation. So what we're saying here to each other is, this is not something that's going to happen overnight. When I leave here today and we've had a good chat about this, and tomorrow you walk through that door and you're thinking, so what is it exactly that I must do? You have to, that would be part of my homework. Part of the homework would be, we have to practice this. What is it that I need to go and do? And what is it that I need to say to people? And I'm hopefully going to be able to make it very practical for you. That you can be excited about the fact that I would know what to say to the seller. So focus on the benefit, practice it. Sole mandate presentation must be and sound authentic. What does authentic mean? Authentic, you're all clever. Authentic means that it must be something that doesn't sound that I'm reading this off a script. I'm sure all of you have seen sole mandate presentations in the market. I'm sure you've seen what Renax does and what Rawson's does and what ABC agencies do. They've got these folders and then they've got lots of papers in there, and they actually also don't know what is in the papers. They also don't really understand it. So they're walking around with a portfolio and you say, well, what have you got in your portfolio? What do you as the agent and the agency offer? And it's like all blank. And it's like, what do you? So a pack of papers and a nicely printed out sole mandate does not mean I know how to sell the property. So it needs to be authentic in the sense that you are going to convince your seller to deal with you. You should be his preferred choice of selling that property. So, benefit to the seller, focus and know your presentation. Okay, great. So step number 1, I've broken it down for you in steps, and we're going to go back and see if we understand these steps. So step number 1 is make the appointment. Make the appointment. We've now said, how do I now know of a property that might be available? What is step number 1? Make the appointment. So what I want us to do is I want us to be very practical in your environment, because you might not meet the client at the property. How many times do you meet the seller at the property? Oftenly or not? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. So firstly, step number 1 is you make contact with the owner. Okay? Step number 1, you make contact with the owner, and you make sure that he is the decision maker. You go through the process with Michael, and Michael says, Mr. ABC is the owner. Then you phone Mr. ABC, and all you at that point of time say is, sir, how, or ma'am, how and when can we meet? And he says to you, I'll be in town in 3 days' time, or I will only be available on my phone tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. We don't care what that appointment means. What we want to do is we want an appointment. We want him to give us the time to talk to him. When you phone him and you can hear that he's driving in his car, is he going to listen to you? Or it's the mom picking up the kids from school. Or you can hear she's actually standing somewhere in a shop doing the shopping. Is she going to listen to you? Definitely, you're wasting your time. Okay, so there, step number 1, make an appointment. That appointment can be dedicated time on the phone. It could be dedicated time at the property. It could be dedicated time at McDonald's or Wimpy for a cup of coffee. Undivided time. Otherwise, you're going to waste your time with that client. Believe me, he's going to not listen to what you're saying to him, and you're not going to have a commitment. So, make the appointment. Look the part and be on time. Okay? So, think a little bit about how do you want to present yourself in the market? How do you want to present yourself? So we need to, after today, go and decide. I think I want to compliment you, Michael, with the profile of agents that you've employed. They are clever, they are well spoken. Somebody that can stand up and say and tell me why they're here. It's like, you go, girl, you can do it. So that's important. But you have to decide, how am I going to present myself? Present in more than one way. The way I'm going to look, you can as a team decide what I'm going to differentiate us from the rest of the people. Do we want some corporate wear? Do we want to decide just to do a corporate color? How are you going to look in the market? How are people going to say, wow, that is a stunning presentation. And the presentation comes with what you look like. Okay. So if you want to deal with the business owner, if you want to deal with the developer, you have to look the part. Let's just start there. If you want to discuss a 2 or a 3 or a 4 million rand property with somebody, then I just want to say to you, you cannot look like you did not leave in time at home this morning. You must be in the moment, you must be well presented, you must be on time. And I'm not just talking about the 3 and the 4 and the 5 million rand property, I'm talking about the owner of a building with 16 or 19 flats. The flats might only be 360,000 rand each, but you want to meet the owner of that building for a cup of coffee. You come as prepared as what you can be. Make the appointment, look the part. Have your personalized plan with you. So after today, you will have a personalized plan. You're going to go and write this out for me. What is my plan when I speak to a seller? Then meet with them, introduce yourself, walk through the property if you've got the opportunity. Ask as many questions as possible. Show your interest. How do I select my agent? If somebody pitches at my property and they are as excited about my property than what I am, who will I deal with? Will I deal with the person who doesn't really look like they want to be here? Or am I going to deal with the person that are excited to be here? So part of preparing yourself for this appointment is to be excited about the property. And I'm talking about the appointment on the phone as well. I'm sure all of you, and we haven't all got the skill to be as well presented over a phone as you most probably would be in person. That's why you need to practice it. So part of this is to say, if I've got the appointment over the phone, how am I going to introduce myself? What are the questions? What are the questions that I'm going to ask? So quickly, let's talk about some questions that we will ask about a property. When you get to a property, what would be a question that you'll ask?
Does it have a picnic?
Does it have?
A picnic if it's a flat.
Does it have a parking? Exactly. Does it have, what else will we ask?
Is there any leakage in the flat?
Is there any leakage in the flats? question. But we are now focusing on, it's an important question to ask when we complete the disclosure form. So there will be more opportunity to ask those questions. But what do we want to now know? What do we want to achieve with these questions? We want to create excitement. We want the seller to think, yo, this person is excited about this property. So I like the property. So property, what else? How long? What are the reasons why you sell? Important. What are we going to ask about the property? No, I'm not going to ask how many bedrooms. Why not? I'm standing in the flat, I can see these two. On the phone. You're talking about on the phone. Am I right? Okay, great. You most probably will know it's a 2-bedroom flat because you saw on his registration, on the homework that you've done. So keep it as a question, but I'm talking about questions that we're going to ask in terms of creating excitement about the property.
If the owner is staying there, we can find out where they can move.
Absolutely. If the owner still said, you will ask, how long have you stayed here? Obviously the reason why you're moving or selling, where are you going to? They want to tell you their story. Very important, what did you enjoy of your property? Write it down. What did you enjoy? What is the benefit of owning this property? That could be your investor, that could be the owner itself. Why did you have this property for 7 years? And the seller is going to say to you, it has been my best investment, but I've now bought a stand and I'm going to build my own property. So immediately you know that he for 7 years he earned good money from the property. If it is a house, you would engage with the rest of the family. You would say something like, tell me a little bit about the area. What do you think will make people live in the area? What did you enjoy of the area? Tell me about where is your children at school? Because that will create interest in the property. It will create something where the seller is saying, sure, that's interesting. Why would she want to know that from me? When we talk about speaking to a seller on the phone, you will make sure that you know exactly where that property is situated. You're not going to ask him, is it on the corner of this street and that street? You're going to say, sir, so tell me, your building that are situated on this corner, I see that it overlooks the following. Do you know what is going to happen in that building? Do you have any interest? You create interest in it because you have done your homework. Okay, so you prepare for that first meeting. If you go to the property with the owner, with the seller, you ask them to walk you through the property. You don't walk through the property on your own. You ask them to walk you through the property. You do not walk through the front door and you start taking photos. That is a very bad idea. Okay, you first familiarize yourself with the property because you know what happens when you walk through the front door and you immediately want to take photos. You also don't know what the property looks like. Okay, the same with when you walk into a flat. You don't know, is there a closed up balcony? But because that's a closed door, you ask the seller to walk you through the property, show you the property. It's their property. They want you to have a look at the property. They want to take you through. So step number 1, prepare for your appointment, and that appointment is either in person or on the phone. We have to be able to present ourselves on both. Are you with me? So if we need to meet with them in person, what would it be? And if we meet over the phone, what would it be? Turn the page around, step number 2. Step number 2, I'm saying to you, how and what do I do? Decide if this is a motivated seller. Okay? So in real estate, like Michael would have told you, in real estate, there's a very important thing to establish. And that is the seller going to waste my time or not? Your time is money. Okay? You should not be spending your time with something that's never going to happen. Please remember that. If it's something you take from me today, do not spend your time with something that's not going to happen. Do you agree with me, Michael?
100%. 101%.
Absolutely. Because that agents can get wrong. They get it wrong. 7 days, 17 days, 7 months later, I've had no sale. Because why? I've been spending my time with something that's never going to happen. You know, I always, and Michael said, Freda, these properties in different categories. I always find it very interesting when agents phone me and then they want to tell me about that one big deal that they didn't get. Aha, I've got a surprise for you. Look, Anshin, and she found us. Is the camera on? Cameraman? You must have it. We're going to take a break. Anshin, can you just quickly? I brought you a surprise. How's this?
Are you well?
I'll be fine.
Look at this video. Look at this. Hey,
No, after you finish with them, they're going to be waiting.
they will be with Let me quickly introduce my colleague, Anshin.
Everything, they take it, they obviously need it.
Oh,
You like, we only take things that we need.
Anshin, don't you want to just quickly touch on the firm? Who you are, where you are situated, your experience in the industry?
Yeah. Guys, so we are in Menlo Park. I met Michael through a referral here at McDonald's. I wasn't important enough to come here, but anyway, that's going to change from now on. Now I know where you are. So JJR is a medium-sized firm where we really focus on quality service. But it's also important for me to see that Freda is with you because it's important that we get good quality contracts. Because if you don't know what you're doing, when that OTP arrives, a JJR is going to fall flat on its face. Important to have parties in, that's the property description, the price, and all those things. And to make sure that your mandatory disclosure documents is fully filled in. So yeah, you have met Wimpy. Wimpy. He's the
Maybe in the office.
the conveyancer is our director. But we have about 5 attorneys and we've got a team of about approximately, I think, 11 or 12 typist secretaries that deals with your transaction. So if you send, I hope soon, that we will dedicate somebody specific to your agency that you can build that trust relationship with. So for us, the service is the most important thing. And it's important that you are compliant, having an FFC. JJR is one of those firms, we cannot pay out your commission if you don't have an FFC, and your company FFC and those things. So we really try to stay legit and above board. We want to be game changers in the industry. We don't want to be those agents that doesn't have FFCs, those attorneys that do things that is not the right thing. We must be the people that change the industry, that do it the right way. And that's the parties, people that signs the OTP, you as an agent, so we need to have a contract. So when you have a contract, you have 2 different ways of dealing with it. Some people send it to their bond originator first before they send it to JJR. So that is a way that you can do it, because then you know by the time that the deal gets to us, it is a brief. More agencies or agents send it when they sign the OTP, because it doesn't matter whether the bond is going through, we start with the process. We start getting in FICA. So we save time by doing it that way. I know sometimes people say, yeah, but what if the bond is not approved? That's beside the point. We can start the figures and all those things if the OTP is with us. the client can get to know us. So obviously the OTP, bond originator, JJR. And then, is it correct for you?
Yeah, so-
Miss a bit.
No, you're not. So Anshin said, so what we need to understand is exactly that. You will have a modus operandi in your office of, do we first facilitate and see and we qualify our buyer? But like, I like the way Anshin is presenting it. You want your client to feel safe in the process. You want to have a service provider that will make you safe. JJR will make you safe in the sense they will contact the client and they will let the seller know we are engaging with your client. So it's your transferring attorney. They are transferring attorneys, so that's one thing you can write down. Who is the transferring attorney? They're always the custodians of the transaction. Then you will have a bond attorney who will facilitate that bond. The good news is that is also JJR. Just your panels and
Yeah, so we are on all the banks panels, even SIO loans, if you work with them.
well, you obviously do.
Yeah, so there's,
Adele also work with you.
okay.
You know Adele, she told me
Yeah,
that work with you. Yeah.
So, but with SIO loans, we work a bit differently. It's not like they allocate the bond to us. So if it is a SIO loans bond, I need to know about it. We get in touch with them because we on the, I think they said our self-recruiting bonds.
Yeah.
So then there's a letter that you write and say, this OTP is with us, you can refer the bond to us. So it's not like Standard Bank and those that does the, some of them does auto allocation. But it is nice that for you to know that we are on all the banks panels, because it's also nice for us to do the transfer and the bond together. Yes, we make a bit more money, that is so, we like it, but it's easier to manage the expectations because we don't have to wait for another bond attorney. And we do the cancellation on the other hand.
That's the third.
That's the first thing, the cancellation part. So it's also important, I'm sure Freda will teach you that the moment that you work with a seller, that you give 3 months, 90 days notice. Because if you didn't give the 90 days notice, because it can be that you sign a sole mandate, but you sell the house within 2 days. Then you didn't have the chance to notify the bank. Then you get that, what's the term?
Penalty.
Then you get penalties on your bond.
Penalty interest.
And you don't want it. It can be only 3 or 4 or 4,000, depends on the amount of the bond. So it's important. That's one of the very, very important things to tell your sellers when you meet them. Do you have a bond? Yes. Yes. How fast do you want to sell? No, immediately. Did you give notice at the bank? Because so many people, agents neglect to tell the sellers that they need to do.
And we started our morning by saying, what is the benefits for my seller dealing with me? The benefits of the sole mandate would also be that we will ask you, have you got a bond? And you understand the fact that there needs to be a cancellation of that bond. Cancellation of that bond, he doesn't have to notify the bank. You can engage on a later stage with Anshin, who will be the people that you deal with. You literally need a bond account number and you notify the attorney. It's an attorney process. So the attorney will drive the cancellation. If he doesn't sell the property in the 90 days that you've got your sole mandate, Rainbow will sell it. But if he doesn't, that doesn't mean that something is not going to be in place with the bank. The nice thing is once the cancellation attorney have engaged with the bank, they keep them electronically updated in the process. On a weekly or 2 weekly process, electronically they'll let Standard Bank know property still in the market, property still not for sale. So they will engage on behalf of the seller with the bank electronically. So if you ask me, who are the 3 parties involved? Like Anshin says, it starts with the OTP, starts with the buyer and the seller, and the agent facilitating the process. But the transferring attorney, bond attorney, if there is financing, cancellation, if the seller's got a bond. Those are the 3, and JJR is all 3 of them. So it doesn't have to be 3 different attorney firms to facilitate that process. Any questions with regards to that? That's quite clear, you understand that. But now you will also know. If you haven't gone through this process, you won't know. And so the appointment was step number 1. Step number 1 was your appointment, and how you prepare for that appointment. Step number 2 was Why are you selling? We spoke about why do we need to find out if this is a motivated seller. Otherwise, you are wasting your time and your money. If the seller does not want to sell, then I just want to say you are wasting your time. So step number 2 is decide if this is a motivated seller. How would I know if this is a motivated seller? A motivated seller has got need a reason why they must sell. Quickly give me a few reasons. Why would people sell property?
It's either the person has to get another place in order for the money that's the person gets from selling.
Yes.
To true.
Okay.
Another property.
Okay. What else?
Now they have a big family, they want something to
They want to expand. Okay. They're now living in a flat. They want to move to one of the suburbs. Okay. What else?
Maybe they are relocated overseas.
Exactly. So they want to relocate. Maybe
So everyone buying, you want to.
they are distressed. They most probably can't afford this property. Okay. So we normally call it in real estate, the reason for selling, it has to be one of the 3 Ds. Divorce, distress, departure, or death. If it's not one of those 4, you will have to convince me that they want to really sell. So let's quickly talk about it. The first D, divorce. People, if they get divorced, they want to move on. Some of them want to stay, some don't. So it's a good reason for selling. You've got a motivated seller. Distress, what Mary said. People might not be able to afford the property anymore. The developer has now bought up 20 or 30 and here comes COVID. No income on his rentals. And suddenly he is distressed. So we've got those distressed sellers and we can help them. But we need to help them in the right. Departure. Departure for one or other reason. The family is growing. We want to move out of the area. We want to move to Victoria East. We are relocating. We are departing. Death. Somebody died somewhere. Okay. And we need to move on. So you need to establish that the seller is a motivated seller. What is the worst reason for selling? I want to test the market. So if somebody says to you, I just want to see what would the market, how would the market react on my property? You say, sir, you're more than welcome to phone me again once you've decided to sell. That's not a reason for sale. You are going to waste your time. Where I live, 90% of the people are retired. So they normally want to test the market. So in Pretoria North, for instance, there's a lot of people that live there for a very, very long time. And then suddenly they want to either downscale or they want to move out of Pretoria. And now they want to just see, can I get the 3.1 or can I get 3.7 million? Or my neighbor got 2.9, can I maybe get more than 3 million? Or my neighbor got 1.4, but I've got a much nicer place, can I get the 1.7? No, that's not a motivated seller. Motivated seller. So you are going to ask the seller, why are you selling? Sir, I believe your property is for sale. Please tell me, why are you selling? You most probably will be the only agent asking him to start with. The other agents are going to ask, can I list your property? You're never going to ask that question again because he might just say no. What do you then say? So you never ask, may I list your property? Say, when can I speak to you with regards to your property? You want to get the appointment. The second step is, why is he selling? I've made the note there for you. If you have determined that the seller is not going to sign a proper mandate with you or do not want to do paperwork with you, you say tactfully, no, thank you very much, I'm not going to sell your property. If he says to you, yes, you can, yes, Mary, you can go and take photos. And you say, but sir, I first need to discuss a few things with you. He says, Mary, I don't have time for that. You must not take photos, make an appointment with the tenant and see what you can do. Do you want to deal with it? No, because you know what's going to happen. Mary, you're going to get a buyer and you're not going to get hold of the seller to sign your agreement. You are not going to get the commitment from the seller who is the tenant in his place. If he does not take you seriously, you don't take him seriously. How is he going to take you seriously? The way that you present yourself. Okay, so the reason for selling is the most important one. Determining factor if you want the sole mandate or not is if it's no, then you leave, tactfully say thank you very much. If you sit down with him and he says, yes, I would consider signing a mandate with you, you say thank you very much, let's talk about it. So step number 1, the appointment. Step number 2, you decide why is he selling and if he would like to sign a mandate with you. Does he want to do paperwork? Step number 2. Okay. Step number 3. How and what do I do now? So he said to you, yes, thank you very much. Come and see me. Meet me for coffee. Now you're going to determine a few things. You sit down and you discuss it. Or you have him on the phone and you say, I've sent you a few questions, sir. Can I quickly repeat it? Did you have time to read it? Or can I run through them? Ask the financial questions. If you're selling flats in Sunnyside, do you know what the levies are? Is the levies up to date? Sir, what are you currently paying? Have you got a levy statement? What does it include? Is there Wi-Fi? Is there prepaid electricity, etc.? You ask the financial questions. It is key to your transaction and a potential buyer. What are the levies? Exactly what Anshin said just now. Have you got a bond on the property, sir? Yes, I do. Fantastic. We can help you with the cancellation of the bond. Oh, really? Yes, we can inform the cancellation attorneys of your bank. That's a discussion you can have. Then you complete the listing form. You ask the financial questions, you complete the listing form. Establish the seller's price that he's got in mind. So now that he has committed that he wants to deal with you, you ask him, sir, what was the price you were thinking that you could get in the market? Ask him the question. You will in the back of your mind talk about money just now. Okay, so how much did you think? If he gives you an amount, what would be the next question that you're going to ask? So he says to you, I want 680,000 rand for my flat. What would be the next question that you ask? How did you get to the price? What is the average price for a 1-bedroom flat in Sunnyside? Michael, you must not say. Average price of a 1-bedroom flat in Sunnyside. Who works in Sunnyside?
All of them.
Yes, come, tell me. 350. Do you agree 350? Mary, what did you say?
300.
How much?
Like 300,000.
350, 290,
280.
280. Michael? What is the average price of a 1-bedroom?
For 1-bedroom in Sunnyside, because of based on the market price, it should be between 280 300.
280 or 300. Okay. So, and we'll talk about how do we get to that price. But that's the big, so now he's telling you 360,000 rand. So how did you get to 360,000? Remember, we're going to talk about that just now. We're talking about motivated seller. He's telling you he's distressed. So the 360 might be the amount of money that he owes the bank. It might be the money he owes the bank, but he's not going to get it. Not this year, not next year. Okay? And you must be able to tell him that. That's why you're not going to sell you're not going to sign the mandate if he doesn't understand that. If the seller's expectations is too high, ask him and her, or both of them, how did they get to the price? Calculate to get to a market-related price. You're going to talk about price later. You're asking him, you're writing it down, you're asking him, how did you get there? So step number 3. So step number 1, an appointment. Okay, appointment. Step number 2 is ask the right questions. Have we got a motivated seller? Step number 3 is now the questions he said to you, yes, I want to deal with you. Now you ask him the questions. What price, levies, bond, etc. That's step number 3. Step number 4. Step number 4, if the price is right, so you've got the seller on the line. He says, I want $295 for my flat. You think, bing, this guy is on the dot. $295. You always, if the price is right, you always ask for a sole mandate. Sir, are you going, there should be no hint. I presume you will consider a sole mandate with me. A mandate with me. You don't have to actually even ask about sole. You would consider a mandate with me. You can discuss mandate later with me. Okay, mandate. So if the price is right, you ask. He can only say no. But he might just say yes. And most probably for every no, you will get a yes as well. You might get 5 no's and a yes. Will you sign a mandate with me? Okay. If overpriced, then the reason for selling becomes more important. So if the guy says 360, and you say, sir, why? He says, I owe the bank 360. Then it's even more important to sign the mandate that you can assist him to sell. You must come with the reasons. Okay? So, okay, overpriced. If the motivated seller take the mandate, even overpriced. So you might even take it overpriced, but you've got to be honest with him. Okay? So he says 360. Yes, Tanya?
Now, if say the bank is at what happens if there's an also the market?
Exactly. So here's the important thing. We're going to get to the comparative market analysis. You'll see the pages now. So what you need to do, if the seller says to you, yes, Tanya, I'll give you a mandate, but I want you to list my property at 320. Let's say 320. We know the price is actually 290. You will give him the facts. You're going to say to him, sir, my estimate at the moment for these reasons, and Michael will teach you those, and we will teach you in the sessions. These are the reasons. This is how I got to your 290. You want 320 because he owes the bank 320. On day 1, you are honest with him. You say, okay, sir, it's your prerogative. We're going to go to market at 320. You've got the mandate at 320. But I'm going to give you weekly feedback on your mandate to also relate with you in what is the market telling us. You most probably will get an offer of 290. How are you going to motivate him to accept the 290 offer? You said to him in the beginning it's worth 290. That's one. But he's saying to you, okay, well, Tanya, where must the other 320 come from? He most probably only going to get 300 in his, you get a 290 offer and you still meet your commission. So now he's about 40,000 rand short. So he wants to make that up somehow. So your know-how of how does the bank deal with a shortfall needs to now motivate him to accept the offer. So even if it is a little bit overpriced, you will consider the mandate, but very important because you want the mandate. You want the mandate. The crucial ethical thing to do, Tanya, to do is you must tell the seller what you believe is the price. You don't accept it. And when you come with a 290 offer, you say to the seller, I told you so. No, you didn't. You never spoke to him about price. Because that's what agents do. Agents take the listing at any price. They take the listing, you're wasting your time and your money. Step number 4 is you always ask for a sole mandate. Step number 4 is you always ask for the mandate. I'll talk about price just now again. The reason why I'm saying you ask him, if he says yes, you take your mandate. Mandate is equal to money in your pocket. It doesn't matter who sells it. If you've got the mandate, you will have the money in your pocket. Okay? So step number 4, you ask for the mandate. Step number 5, now you're going to tell him how are you going to sell the property. Introduction to line to your sole mandate presentation. You're going to tell him how you're going to sell the property. What are you going to do? I think that's where we lack. We don't tell people how do we sell properties. We don't. We take the listing and then we think it's going to happen, and four weeks later, 3 months later, the seller says that agent never pitched again. I never heard from them again. That's why I don't want to deal with an agent. They pitch, they put a board up, or photos go onto the website, and I never hear from them again. That is not how we're going to do it in the future. So now you'll say, so step number 5 is, Paul and Judy or Mr. Shoba, I believe it's in your best interest to give a sole mandate to our agency, as this is how you will achieve the best price for the property. Why would he get the best price on a sole mandate? We're going to talk about why a sole mandate. Why do you believe is a sole mandate important for you, Mr. Seller? What is the very first thing? The very first thing is, let me show you why I should be the agent that you employ. Why do you need to deal with me and Rainbow Properties? Why? We're going to get to that why just now. So now you're going to tell him, step number 5 is, you've asked all the questions. You did not ask him the first time when you phoned and said, will you sign a sole mandate? We made the appointment, we asked him, we showed the interest, we asked all the questions, we asked him why is he selling, and then he said, at what price do you want to sell, sir? Okay, at 290. Now you know. I presume you will consider a mandate with us. Let me tell you how I will sell your property. I'm the seller. I want to hear from you. Do you know how to sell a property? Okay. There's the presentation. So this is your homework. This is your homework. I'm not going to leave you today not giving you homework. You are going to prepare this for me, and you're going to practice it, and I want to see and hear how you can talk to people on how do you sell properties. Because if you can't sell a property and you can't sign a sole mandate, you are not going to be successful in this industry. Okay, so you and your company, why should they deal with you? Why should they deal with you? It's all about the client. You only talk about the client. Your needs, concerns, questions. My focus is on your complete satisfaction, Mr. Seller. You're going to tell him, what do you want me to do for you, sir? Would you like me to contact you weekly? Would you like me to contact you via email? Would you like me to contact you via WhatsApp? I work to get your property sold. You will want to tell people about me. Maybe that's why 50% of my business comes from referrals. I would want you to tell friends about it. Good service speaks for itself. So if you talk about your competitive edge, I want you to make notes. What would be the competitive edge of Rainbow Properties? Why do I'm Freda, I'm a property owner in Sunnyside. I own 15 flats. And I've had 15 agents this week contacting me. Why should I choose you? Why should I choose Rainbow Properties? Come, we're now going to write down the reasons why people should deal with your company and you.